All right. It's been a great week, and it's late Friday. I'm heading to the train station on the old orange PDX. For this trip, I am holding in one hand my record case. Got my freaking heavy-ass backpack fully packed to the brim, full of all my swag and other things from the week. And off I go into the first rain of my entire trip. Of course, as I leave, it decides to rain, right? It actually got kind of cold, too. It's probably about, I think it was like 58 to 62 degrees Fahrenheit right now. But whatever the case, nothing, a hoodie doesn't nullify as an issue. And once again, heading down the same streets that I commuted into downtown for every day of the week. And it's a little sullen because this trip was, I gotta say, just a totally kick-ass trip. I had so much fun in Pittsburgh. I was very impressed by the city. I kind of had some expectation that I would be. I had heard some good things from reliable sources, and those sources continue to be reliable because it was true what they said. Pittsburgh, at least especially the downtown core and the immediate south side flats and over into the north area a bit, is very bikeable. It's a very bike-friendly-ish area, you know, in the grand scheme of things, of course. There are very nice trails along the river, and with the weather, it was absolutely stunning to go and ride down along those trails. There's the city over to the right as I cross under the light rail / tram / whatever train name you give those things, bridge that goes into downtown. And I just kind of keep cruising, heading over into this area. Well, let's talk for a minute. Pittsburgh. The big negatives, I would say. I'm going to add some negatives because I've been pretty glowing with praise for the city. The negatives are employment. There's not a lot of employment choices here, and it's also gotten to a point in Pittsburgh where a lot of the employment choices appear to be kind of the second-hand places. A lot of the same problems that like Portland has, and even ironically Austin, even though Austin has been a leader in many ways. It ends up with a lot of businesses where they put their second or third or fourth office there. And when times get a little rough, kind of like the layoffs in tech as of late, these are often the places that bear a significant part of the blunt of the layoffs. And when these areas like Pittsburgh experience layoffs in those secondary and tertiary offices, it's very significant because a large part of the city's effort has been to cater around those particular businesses coming into the city. Whereas a place like Seattle, Amazon being HQ'd there, Microsoft being HQ'd right across the lake, they're not particularly going away. Those companies would literally have to die to leave the area. They are entrenched. They are anchored in those places. Whereas Pittsburgh, they're not. If a secondary or tertiary office has too low of a person count, they'll just close the office. And that's always a big risk for these cities like this. So that's one of the big, huge negatives about Pittsburgh. If you intend to locate there, you definitely have to have some employment flexibility around that aspect, especially if you're in tech. There are some companies, like some banking companies, etc., that probably would provide a solid base. But you know, there's always the dice to roll, and of course, banking is not, you know, Uber or some other bleeding-edge tech startup. Now, there's the other aspects of things too. There's a little bit of parts of town that are a little rough. And if that makes you feel unsettled, then maybe Pittsburgh isn't your place. But overall, once you get into the city, you realize that a lot of the city is pretty chill. It is a pretty chill city. So not a lot of issue in that regard, especially if you're already in America and you're used to American levels of whatever. crime, homelessness, etc., then Pittsburgh is not going to be an issue. It's a pretty chill place, not a ton of homelessness, etc. And that brings up the third negative. Pittsburgh gets cold, and there's no particular escape. It snows, gets cold. So if you can't handle the cold, and you're not used to getting a little bit of those weather extremes, then Pittsburgh is going to be really rough on you. So think about that real hard if you ever go to Pittsburgh. The other thing is it's not a coastal city. A lot of people want to be near water, etc. There's a confluence here. There's two rivers that come together to make the Ohio River, the Monongahela and Allegheny. Well, I think I just butchered that, but you get the idea. Two significant rivers that have great history. They combine into the Ohio, which is a very significant river too. So there's water, but here's the catch. It's not really water that you go do water things in. Sure, there's a little boating and such, but this is not the environment where you would just whimsically go swimming. So if those types of things are that important to you, like if you're obsessed with the beach, Pittsburgh is not your city. It's not your place. This is not where you want to be. You're going to go nuts. But yeah, so covering the negatives, right back, flipping it around, going back with the positives again. As you can see, even with this little rain, this is not significant enough to cause any problems. Now, of course, I'm a little bit of an all-weather dude myself, so a little rain is not going to, cause me to not do something. I'm out here riding my bike, not even concerned with this piddly little rain. You see a little few raindrops on my Insta360, which I just look back at as I look at something. I don't know, probably checking traffic. But yeah, this was a non-issue getting into town this night. Traffic was chill, as you can see. It's a little after hours for sure. It's 10 o'clock, but there's nothing stupid going on. There's no like mass chaos downtown or anything. Pretty easy. Not a bunch of tents, not a bunch of filth sitting around downtown that you have to like get through. So no concerns there. Very chill. So anyway, in that regard, I gotta say, big heart, big love for Pittsburgh.
Watch out for the rain.
It's a great city. I remember what was happening. There was some weird communication between two people going on across the street. Not like an argument, but they were just communicating really weird, like being eccentric about things. But probably just having fun or whatnot. Anyway, I continued on. As you can see, very low traffic through here. Getting real close to the train station at this point. And I'll tell you one of the other negatives, which I've ranted about a little bit in a previous episode for Pittsburgh. But otherwise, it's just lots and lots of positives. I also read recently that Pittsburgh will be getting increased rail service. So if you like multimodal options, buses, trains, driving, biking, whatever, Pittsburgh's increasing the choices that you have if you're going to be a resident of Pittsburgh, which is very nice. Because it's not a bad train trip to head over to the East Coast and just be on the East Coast for a few days, if you wanted to do that. It's a little bit of a slow train trip, but it gets you there. It's a daily trip to, daily trip from, and they're gonna increase it, I think, to like 2 trips a day or something like that. So maybe there's the opportunity to leave Pittsburgh in the morning or the evening, and vice versa, the other direction. So that's pretty cool. Getting so close, and there's somebody just randomly disembarking their car in the middle of the road. That's always a weird thing. I am always somewhat perplexed by the entitlement people seem to have of their own ushering. Like they usher their own right and entitlement to just disembark in the middle of the road for whatever reason. And that was the middle of the road. Like they could have pulled off to the side. I don't know why they didn't. I rode by on the side. They were in the middle of the freaking road. But yeah, so Pittsburgh, big thumbs up. Love my stay, love my trip. And I even enjoyed this quiet ride to the station in the rain, the drizzle, if you will. Highly recommended city. honestly, like, if I wasn't firmly planted on the West Coast, Pittsburgh would have definitely been one of my options of where to reside when I was picking a city to live in. Here's where things always get confusing. People parking in the bus lane at night. When lanes are optional like that, it always just gets super weird. I wonder how many cars they end up with parked smack dab early in the morning when they need the lane. But going into the weekend, there's probably a fairly low chance that that'll happen, but you never know. Now this little construction clusterfuck is kind of annoying. And even though it seems kind of crazy with the fire truck going by, there's no traffic out there. It's just the fire truck and me coming to this intersection. And right here is where I have the other complaint. So, Grand Station entrance. You can see the lights over there across the street where the Grand Station entrance should be. Yep, and then this jackass just basically parked at the light in the crosswalk. Which the whole nation needs to get behind, ticketing the hell out of people that do this. I mean, if you can't manage your car when there's no cars around, you shouldn't be driving, period. It's just pathetic. But anyway, I digress. This is the entrance. This is the entrance to what was the station, or at least this station. There was multiple stations around Pittsburgh, and it's now up above is all condos or apartments or something like that. And then this is the entrance to their quote-unquote condo complex. But this should have been and should have remained the public entrance to the train station. This is a public space, and it's been privatized, and that just sucks. It's just trash in that sense, but it's still the same glorious architecture, glorious design as before. And as I rode up here, that supposedly to the left is an entrance. You can walk down there to get to the train station, but there isn't any real signage. And the other thing is there's signage that says you're not allowed to take pictures of this space. Well, I'm taking a picture of the space. They can F off. So anyway, I rode back up over here, and then I actually went down the corridor, but you can't get into the train station.
That's a dickish thing.
But anyway, on that note, Pittsburgh was awesome. Kicks ass. Love the trip. That's it for Pittsburgh. Cheers.